from Nebraska.
Mr. Fortenberry.
Well, thank you. I thank my colleague, Ms. Schmidt, for the recognition, and for Mr. Smith from New Jersey for his passionate understanding and belief of this most fundamental aspect of human rights and the need for justice in our world today around this essential issue for the protection of our most vulnerable. Thank you, sir, for your leadership. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to add that tomorrow thousands of people from across the nation will gather just steps away from this very Capitol along the National Mall, and they'll be huddled against the cold, but nonetheless they've come out to speak out against the 7 years of human rights abuses and affronts to our fundamental rights and liberties. We especially welcome the youth who will come out tomorrow, who will take time away from their studies to stand at the feet of our nation's seat of power and give voice to the voiceless. They faithfully make the trip to D.C. each year to regret the anniversary of the Supreme Court's passage of Roe versus Wade, legalizing abortion in this country. Tomorrow, these thousands, young and old, will lift their voices in one resounding cry for one fundamental cause of justice: the idea that women deserve better than abortion, the idea that life gives hope, and that we are big enough and we should be loving enough as a nation to care for the lives of every mother and the child nestled within her. This idea is essential to the well-being of our entire country. A truly good society must stand for the protection of all persons' rights, above all, the right to live. To stand for goodness and justice, we must protect all life, particularly that which is most vulnerable. Wherever it takes place, abortion is so often a decision that is brought on by either physical or emotional abandonment. We must not accept a culture that says if you've been abandoned, your only option is to abandon the life within you as well. We cannot let this hopelessness breed hopelessness, nor despair breed more despair. However, many of our leaders here in Washington, Mr. Speaker, send a much different, less affirming message to those most in need of encouragement and assistance. Last year, Secretary of State Clinton appeared before the House Foreign Affairs Committee and confirmed that it is this administration's goal of including abortion as an integral element of reproductive health care provided by the United States. President Obama has rescinded the Mexico City policy, making millions of dollars available to foreign entities that promote and perform abortion. We now export abortion and project, in turn, our own woundedness in this country upon others. The National Institute of Health has created the largest federal incentive to date to destroy human embryos for research, distracting scientific attention away from adult stem cell research, research that is achieving real results and does not cause ethical divides. The Secretary of Health and Human Services, Sebelius, may soon rescind a regulation protecting from discrimination our health care providers who choose not to participate in the act of abortion. All four of these and other actions taken by the administration are a direct and pernicious assault on the sanctity of human life. And today, when twice as many black children in this country are eliminated through abortion than are born, we also hear repugnant assaults on the dignity of minority populations from our leaders. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg last year commented in the New York Times, and this is a direct quote, "Frankly, I had thought at the time Roe was decided there was concern about population growth, and particularly growth in populations that we don't want to have too many of. So that Roe was going to then set up for Medicaid funding for abortion," close quote. Mr. Speaker, let's reflect on that for a moment. Quote, "populations that we don't want too many of," from a Supreme Court justice. These statements deserve the strongest public rebuke. Abortion is not health care, no matter how much some leaders in Congress would like it to be. Abortion hurts women. Abortion is decimating urban America, and this cannot stand. But together we can stand for life. We can win this fight for good. And Mr. Speaker, those who share this deep concern for the sanctity of life, I would say they are the new abolitionists. They are the inheritors of the great American tradition of seeking justice and uplifting the most vulnerable. On the eve of the 37th anniversary of Roe versus Wade, countless Americans have awoken to this reality, and the civic engagement of thousands who will gather here tomorrow and the millions more who remain at home will hopefully hasten the day when the nation fully recognizes the unborn as persons worthy of protection under the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution. And with that, I yield back to my good friend, Mr. Smith.
Yes. With my friend and colleague, and I thank him for his eloquent statement. You mentioned the statements made by